Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel and welcome back for another recipe. I know I've been gone for quite some time, but I am back now and this is my absolute favorite time of the year, so I'm super excited to be sharing with you some of my fall favorites. Pot roast is definitely one of those things that I feel like you can only eat during the fall time because it is such a hearty dish. But I will say this, I am not one of those type of people who believe that you have to only eat certain dishes during certain seasons, except pot roast. That's one of those things. So I'm taking that yellow onion that I just cut up and I'm including it in a gallon Ziploc bag. On the screen are the ingredients that you will need, and like I always say, alter to your liking. Now I'm going in with a clean piece of chuck roast, and I'm going to take my knife and just poke some holes all throughout it. The reason why I do this is so that the seasonings can flow all throughout the pot roast. And I don't know about y'all, but growing up, pot roast was one of those things that I absolutely hated. I could not stand it, and I figured out why. As I got older and I started making it myself, it was because the seasonings were not all throughout this pot roast. I felt like, yes, you could taste it on certain pieces, and it turned out that those certain pieces that you could taste it on was the outside of the pot roast, what you see right here. And so as I got older, I kind of picked up little tricks and tips throughout the way to make things more flavorful. And this is one of the things that I love to do, especially with a pot roast. It's such a thick cut of meat. So you want to make sure that you're doing something to ensure that those flavors are going all throughout that piece of meat. Now, if you did not notice, right here I'm putting on some Italian seasoning. I only put it on one side of my pot roast. To me, Italian seasoning can get a little strong if you do get carried away. And I love the flavor that it gives, but I don't like too much of it, which is why I only chose to put it on one side and I only chose to use such a small amount of it. But alter to your liking. Y'all know I always say that. And on this side, I'm going to do the same exact thing, but like I said, I did not put any Italian seasoning on this side. Now that both sides of this roast is coated to perfection in all of our seasonings, I'm going to take it and I'm going to add it to that same Ziploc bag with those onions. So if you guessed that this bag would be used to marinate our meat, you are absolutely correct. So I'm going to add that into the Ziploc bag, and then I'm going to go in with two other ingredients, one of which is a secret ingredient, so do not tell anybody. The first thing is minced garlic. Everybody knows minced garlic is a key. But this right here, this is soy sauce. That's my secret ingredient. Do not tell anybody, okay? Please. Thank you. But I feel like soy sauce really does amp up the flavor profile in beef. And it just adds in that little bit of salt that you're missing. And I feel like it does it in a way without completely overpowering your dish. Obviously, if you use too much, then you have a bigger fish to fry. But y'all, stick with 1 tablespoon and you'll be just fine. So I'm just massaging everything in, and I'm going to put it in the fridge for 24 hours. Like I always say, the longer, the better. You can get away with 3, but I did 24. It's the next day, and I'm going to take another yellow onion, and I'm just going to cut just a small amount off of that so we can add that to our pot when we are cooking our roast. Use as much as you'd like, but that's all I decided to use. And in my Dutch oven, I'm going in with about 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil and a tablespoon of butter. Once that starts to melt down and is all combined, we're going to go in and sear our roast. Now with the roast, make sure that it is at room temperature. So take it out at least an hour before you're ready to cook it. That way, when you put it in your pot, you can get that nice, beautiful sear that you like to see. And then that way, it does not toughen up as it cooks. Anytime you add cold meat to the pot, be mindful that it will get tough, okay? It can get tough. So I did add some beautiful color to one side, and now we're gonna flip it and let that side brown up. And while that's going, that same bag that we marinated our roast in, I'm going to add a little bit of beef broth to it, and we're gonna get all of those seasonings from out of that bag. Now that that has been done, we are going to look at our roast and look at it. Oh, it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I'm gonna take it out and add it to a plate, and we're going to take that bag mixture and add it into our pot along with those onions that we cut up earlier. And I'm just going to take a wooden spoon and scrape at the bottom of the pot, making sure to get all of those bits off the bottom. That is nothing but flavor, and we need every bit of it throughout this dish. Now that that is all done, I'm going to go in with a 32-ounce container of beef broth. You can definitely use water and be just fine, but I choose to use beef broth. I feel like if you add things in layers, it definitely does amp up the flavor profile. So instead of using water, why not go in with a little bit of beef broth? Give it a little more flavor. And then I'm using some Better Than Bouillon beef base, and it's only about a 4th teaspoon. But this also amps up the beefy flavor in your roast. And I'm just gonna give that a good stir, making sure to kind of dissolve that beef base as best I can. And then I'm gonna take my roast and add it back into that pot. I'm gonna cover it and let it go on about a medium for about an hour and 30 minutes, making sure to check every 20 minutes or so. And as you can see here, our roast is starting to completely fall apart. So now that we are almost done, I'm going to taste it. Like I always say, taste everything. We're gonna taste it to make sure the seasonings are perfect, and it is. And then I'm just going in with about half a teaspoon of some cornstarch. And I'm just adding that in to help thicken up the gravy that's in the pot. And I'm also gonna go in with some carrots. Now, when it comes to this, it's definitely personal preference. I've always grown up with carrots inside of my pot roast, and I love it that way. So I definitely add some in here. This is a bag of the baby carrots. This is what I had in my refrigerator, so that's what I chose to use. It honestly does not take long to cook at all. For me, it only took about 10 minutes. So that's how long I decided to let this go. And then as you can see, I did tear apart some of the roast because why not? And then I went in with a cup of water just to give it a little more liquid, because that cornstarch did cause it to thicken up quite a bit. So just to make sure that it does not completely burn out, I added in a little water and I let it go, like I said, for about 10 minutes so that it can simmer just a little bit more and cook those carrots. But this is it. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.